I've been thinking a lot about like the most important decisions in our life, and I think that you mean choosing the right partner and that life partner for you. That's the mother or the father to your children, and I would like to think that that's a pretty damn important decision. And you've seemed to be with someone for such a long period of time, and so it's just interesting hearing lessons that you've learnt throughout those years that you've been with Tim.
Yeah, such a good question. I feel like in our relationship, the biggest thing is we have allowed each other to grow and change, and we hold space for that person to be a different person. So like Tim has seen me, like I said, I'm a cat with 9 lives. He has seen me in so many different identities and so many different seasons and whatnot. And he has always allowed me to, grow and change. You know, when people are like, I saw you doing this on the weekend, like that's not you, or like, they have this like projection of who you are. And I feel like if you want to be in a long-term relationship, you have to really be okay with that person changing and not get attached to them needing to be a certain way. And I think it's because with me and Tim, we have always been our own people. And we have always like focused on ourselves outside the relationship, and then, always made time for the relationship and come inwards. And so we're not two halves. We're like, we're two whole people coming together, and we've allowed that. And for example, like my husband, he's not into the same things as me. He's actually on a snowboard trip at like a festival in Japan this week. And I my favorite thing to do is like go to a meditation retreat. Like we're actually very different people. But we have so much space for that. He has always supported me in my things, and I've always allowed him to be him. And I think I was listening to this podcast and it was so good. And it was a divorce lawyer, and he was saying the biggest reason that he's seen, divorces happen is because with men, the woman will marry a man and like kind of marry him for his like potential of like, he's pretty good, but I know he can be like a really good man, and like I know he'll like grow into it, because women naturally, we love progression, we love change. And so like women will like think he's going to like change and progress and like fall in love with the potential. Whereas the opposite, like men will divorce a woman because she has changed so much from herself of when they first got married.
That's fascinating.
And like how interesting is that? Like you both kind of have that counter intuitive, like men just, are wanting this and women are wanting that. So you can see why, divorce happens and divorce rate is really high. And I think when I was reflecting, I did notice that. I was like, I have allowed Tim, and don't get me wrong, he, has really great interests, and there has been moments in our relationship where I have said, I really would love for you to, do some more personal development or, go see someone. And he has, and he's always stepped up to where I need him to be. But I've always got space for him to also be him, because otherwise there's just like another me in the relationship, which we don't want two of me. And so I think that's like something that has worked with us. And then he has also allowed me to progress and change rapidly, and, been very supportive with it.
So growing in parallel, but as two separates in a sense, I think like allowing each other to grow together in a sense. It's like he's growing in his way on his imperfections he's trying to build up. And maybe what it is it's not having an expectation of a perfect thing in your mind, because like I spoke to someone and they were talking about how like you can't have a perfect person, but you kind of need to grow together and grow into this thing, because if you're constantly waiting for a perfect person, you're never going to find them. I'm just interested by this relationship pillar because I just think so many people struggle with it. I've recently got out of like quite a short-term one, and you look at like how good things can go, and then you realize how quickly things can take a turn, and it's quite an interesting dynamic navigating relationships nowadays. And so it's fascinating to see how you learn. Do you think there's from a say resentment piece, do you think there can be resentment that builds up within partners because maybe what they were is not who they are now? Or do you think that can be a thing that ends relationships, maybe having like resentment towards how someone's turning into or becoming?
Absolutely. But I think like a great thing that I have learned that has really helped me with my relationship is learning attachment styles. So I don't know if you're familiar with attachment styles.
Yeah.
So for example, once I figured out that I'm actually like me and my husband, I say like when on a good day we're securely attached, but like when we're not our best self, I'm more anxiously attached and he's more avoidant, which actually is very typical. Like males are usually avoidant.
That was yeah.
And so for example, we recently moved house, cyclone happened, he's going away. And also we didn't anticipate this, but we thought we'd sell our other house, but we end up just renting it out. So then we have to get that house sorted for the renters. And so, for example, we're going through these like, huge hurdles and challenges. And me and my husband had a really great conversation because when he's going through challenges and hurdles, his thing is I need to be by myself. I need to be alone. I need to sort this out and whatnot. And then I'm over here like, just love me. I need intimacy. This is how I deal with challenges. And so we know this about each other, and we're very good with communication is everything. And so we had like a really good chat where I just had to say to him like, oh, like I'm just letting you know I'm just feeling like very overwhelmed. And when I'm feeling like this, I need you close. And I just like, I need that time with you. And he's like, oh, I know, I'm sorry. I'm feeling really overwhelmed. So when I feel like this, I just need to fucking get the fuck out of here. And so it was so good because if you don't know the psychology and their coping mechanisms and those sorts of things, my brain could tell me he doesn't love me. He doesn't care. And then resentment happens. And then it's like this toxic cycle of like, well, fuck you. I'm not going to, suit your needs. And like vice versa with him, that's what, he could have whatever stories. So I just truly believe the communication of being like, how do you actually feel right now? And then you saying your feelings. And the biggest thing that I do that has really helped our relationship is I don't say, I need you to be more intimate. I need you to be, give me more attention. I say, I feel this, I feel that, because anytime you kind of put the blame on them, they will automatically feel attacked and they will shut down and they won't hear what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the same, the avoidant and anxious thing. It was so profound for me realizing that. What's the answer there? Because there's communication, but you still want to be close and they still want to fuck off. And so is this something that you can do? Like you go like role play here. So let's do it. So like I'm the guy, you're the girl. We're having this argument not argument, but like there's just a little bit of tension going on. I'm avoiding. I've got a massive plate of to-dos and work to do. So I can't deal with that right now. You're anxious. So all you want to do is just like come and be in my grill and make sure I'm all good. And that's just annoying me even more. And I'm like, piss off. Is a way to deal with this is go like still affirm to the girl that you love them, everything's all good. I just need a bit of space. So then they don't fear the abandonment as much because you're affirming to them, and then you can kind of have your space and they can be a bit more. Is that like a way to cope with it, or how do you actually deal with it?
Yeah. So for a very real, example is like he was like, look, I just have to, finish doing this, this, and this with the house. As soon as I'm done doing this, let's go and, lay down and watch a movie and like have a bit of time. For us, it is obviously harder because we have a toddler. So he was like, my parents were coming over. So he's like, once your parents get here and they're like settled and Ivy's asleep, like let's, have that sort of time together. And so that's all I needed from him. I just needed that communication of you will make time for me later. And then I was happy and I could like breathe again.
I'm learning that. Yeah.
So that's what I mean. It really is communication, which I know you're so big on, but it also, in saying that though, the other person does need to take responsibility, because I do believe if like I am going to be anxiously attached all the time and he's going to be avoidant all the time, it's probably not going to work. So you both need to work on being secure. So in this dynamic, you would need to work on being secure and I would need to be, work on being secure. For me, what that looks like for me personally is anytime I'm feeling like anxiously attached to Tim, I notice it's because I've probably slipped in regards to like my own self-care and self-love. Like I haven't given myself a lot of attention. So I'm needing it from him. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And like let's just think of like you've got this like full cup and like anxiously attached. They have this like, this is me. And then like avoidance have a cup like this. And so if you think anxiously attached, like they just want to pour their love. So imagine this in here. So you would feel like engulfed. Like you would feel like, oh my God, this is too much. You needy motherfucker. And so what I do as anxiously attached is like I can see where Tim is like full, have that communication, great. But then I go pour into other things and other people. So that might be Ivy, that might be my parents, that might be starting a new project or like learning, a new thing. Go learn how to be secure. Yeah. And that I notice when I do that for myself, I don't need as much attention and love from him because I'm giving it to myself. And obviously that's like not the, who's holding that? Yeah. It's not like you still need love and attention from your partner. But in those moments, notice when you're kind of like feeling anxiously attached and being like, okay, well, where that person isn't available, and that person's not supposed to be available to you all the time. Like that's ridiculous. Just like I'm not available to Tim all the time. Yeah. And so it's like me out, almost like outsourcing and like where can I pour all this water that I have to other places.